this is Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department. The Fashion Institute of Technology. This tutorial is for ideation, JD 139. I want to talk about drawing stones and placing them in Painter. Specifically, how to go about getting symmetrical stone layouts drawn. Okay, so the first step in this process is to have a sketch to work from. This is the one I'll be working with today. The next step, this tutorial is actually very heavy on working with layers and positioning them. Each stone we're going to draw will be its own layer. Okay? And then there will also be a layer for sketching the stones. I'm going to take my sketch is actually on a layer that I can turn on and off. Okay? I'm going to make that a little more faint by making it more transparent here in the slider. I'm going to pick a stone. I'll start with my longest stone, biggest stone, which was going to be one of these two pairs. I need marquise. So on my reference layer, this layer here, I'll make a couple of dots to indicate its length and its width. And I'll just draw a quick indication, kind of where that stone is and what size I want it to be. Turn off my sketch. Turn on symmetrical drawing. Make the grid line one you guys can see at home by changing the color. Not the grid line, but the symmetry line. Use my layer adjusting tool. Bring this into the middle. Do a free transform and a revolve. Rotate my stone. Okay. Go to move my stone a little bit. And I'll commit transform. Now you can see it doesn't really line up because I know I sketched it a little asymmetrically. I'll put it here. And then I will go to my brushes and I'll make a dot well beyond the point and well beyond the width. And I'll look and see how that compares. If this dot had been a lot farther from one end than it was than the other, I would know I'd have to move my drawing. I'll show you an example. If my drawing was here, and I came up and put a dot well above here, see where that's happening here? That's not good. Okay? I know that my drawing is asymmetrical. Needs to be moved up. So move it up and then do it again. Still needs to come up. See how the dot, this symmetrical dot, is hitting low? Hitting below. So move it up a little more. Getting close. That's pretty good. And then I'll check it from side to side. And that's not bad. Alright? So that's the layer I have to position my stone. I will make that layer somewhat transparent and begin drawing my actual stone on a fresh layer. I'll actually name it MQ so I know it's a marquee, my first marquee stone. Zooming in, using a brush that's about the right size. Okay, I'm bringing the size of the brush down to a 1.9. That's a really tight little brush. That should be plenty fine enough for what we're doing. And the paper here, it's here next to your color paper libraries. I'm going to take this to a fine grain paper. An alternative would be to turn the grain way down, but I prefer to just use a finer grain paper. I'm not going to use the guide marks I made to see if it was centered. I'm going to use the actual marks. Okay. And I'm going to measure about halfway in. Shape for the table. And that's a little too large, so bring it in a little bit. And then I will draw the fastening pattern. Marquee, it's going to begin with a crisscross there and a crisscross here. Okay. Take a second to clean this up. Once again, I could use my straight line tool if I wanted to, and encourage you to do so if you would like. There's that. Turned off that positioning layer because it was getting in the way. If I want to go smoother or tighter, I can go down to a 1.6. I really don't like to drop below that. And I certainly won't drop down to 1.6 until I've done a 1.9. I'll work my way down to it. Okay, that is my first marquee. So I can now turn off my symmetry, turn back on my sketch, take my first marquee, position. Now I have a second marquee that is close to the same size. So rather than bring this down into position, I'm going to copy it, Control C, paste it, Control V. I'll pick up marquee 1, select that layer and bring it down. I'll leave the original one here, the copy. Turn it off for now. Free transform this, rotate it, move it, rotate it, move it, commit transform. I'll take it to gel just to see that I've positioned it properly. Okay. Marquee 1 is in position. I'm going to go ahead and clear this positioning. Notice I'm selecting, it will only clear the layer I select that's active. So if I select there and hit that selection, it'll take that. If I do the same selection and I activate marquee 1, it'll do that. So you have to know which layer is currently on. Come down. Do the same process here. Now I'm way down to a 1.6, so go to like a 2.2. Then go ahead and bring the opacity up so I can see clearly. And that's really good enough. Once again, if I want to do a straight line, it's easy enough to do. Do a little sketching for the outline. Not a lot. Just to give me an idea. Notice how I've got a little piece of my old drawing up there. I can just ignore that, I don't care. If I wanted to get rid of it, I could select it. But actually, if I want to make sure that the only lines I have are the ones I'm currently working on, I can draw a selection around that. Okay? And I can go select, invert, or Control I. That'll select everything else on the layer except for what I just selected. Hit Control X, and that's gone. I'm going to name this sketch so we know. I'll turn it off. Turn off marquee 1. Bring back my mirror. And bring this into position. Rotate it. Move it. Commit transform. Check it for symmetry. Make a little mark beyond the point. It's a little low. Okay, so it's a little farther down and a little to the left. So I'll move it up a bit and over a bit. Check again. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. So I could go ahead and draw this stone now if I wanted to, but if I did not want to, I can gel this copy that I made. Okay. Now I'm having a hard time seeing through it. Alright? That's a little frustrating for me, because it becomes all jumbled. If I'm not going to draw it, I don't need my grid, my symmetry lines. I can turn that off. But I'm still having a hard time seeing. That's not good. Pardon me. It would help if that was a different color. So that's what we're going to do with it. We're going to do two things. We're going to get rid of the symmetry mark dots, because it would be helpful if I had hit. It doesn't matter. I can turn the mirror back on, but I can just do this without. Just to simplify that as much as possible. And then I can change the color. Effects, tonal control, has everything to do with colors. Correct colors. Just pick red. By increasing the contrast for red and the brightness of red, I can make that red. And now it's much clearer to me where those proportions are at. I can take my layer, marquee 2, and I can free transform. And I can adjust it until it fits. And then edit transform, commit transform, my lines will clean back up. And that's a respectable version. Now, you want to be careful, okay? This isn't a huge difference in scale, so it's fine. If I had a huge difference in scale, I would want to redraw the stone, because if I don't, I'll have a tremendous difference in line thickness. As I scale this up and down, these lines become a lot thinner, and I can end up with very, very thin lines on some stones and really fat lines on other stones. So you can scale them like this if the difference isn't tremendously big. Otherwise, I would redraw them. I don't need this anymore. I'll just Control X. Oops. Did just what I told you about. See what I did? I cut the side of the stone off. I had the wrong layer selected. I'll name this layer Scale. I don't like that. We'll call it Key. That's the key going between sketch and finish. Bring my sketch back up. Marquee 2 into position. Free transform. Rotate. Notice how nasty and low resolution. That's what free transform does. It turns the image into a low resolution image so you can manipulate it without overtaxing your computer. Once you have it where you want it, you can commit transform. Use your keyboard to adjust it if you want, rather than dragging it with your pen. If it doesn't move, click in the background and then it will work. Okay. So, Marquee 1, Marquee 2. The next stone I'll draw will be this pair. For the length, center line. Outline, just gestured. Mirror or symmetry. I'm holding the shift key down to get the hand. If I want a brush, it's a B. If I want the floater adjuster, it's F. So if you don't see me come over and grab these, it's because I'm using keyboard shortcuts. Free transform. Not what I'd have expected. It's very annoying. I'll show you how to fix it in a minute. I can still work with it that way, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But I'll take care of it now. It means it thinks there's more on the layer than that. If I don't want that to happen, I can take my lasso or my window select, grab around this, Control I to invert selection, Control X. You won't see anything really happen, but we just made the selection, the shape of the floater, more consistent to our piece. So now we free transform. See? It stays closer. Okay. By the way, there are keyboards for that too. Free transform is Control Alt T. Commit transform, I don't see that it has one, but maybe it's just Control Alt T. Let's find out. Control Alt T. Control Alt T. Nope. It's interesting. And once you've done that, there we go. Commit transform. Alright, so I can't have the horizontal and vertical on the pear because it's not a symmetrical stone from top to bottom. Okay. So what I'm really going to check here is side to side. And it's closer here than it is there, so it needs to be moved over. What you just saw me do is change it to F, to floater manipulator with F enter, and then tap in the background to make sure that the canvas is reading it. Otherwise, sometimes it won't do anything. That's better. New layer. A new layer will be created above whatever layer is current. So if I'd have put the new layer here, it would go between key and marquee 1. You can drag it up to the top, but it's best to click the where you want it and then have the layer appear directly above. Okay, take my key back in value a little bit. Draw my pear. It would be good for you to have a reference of a good pear shape to draw from. What a pear really is it's a marquee from its midway point up, and it's a round on the back side. How that usually translates is you have a nice full round bottom portion of the stone, and then it's a little bit flat on the sides. Not a lot, but a little bit. Okay. made that too long. Double check. Yes, I had made it too long. This is getting too fine a line. So I'm trying to do something I can't with that brush, so I'm making it thinner than thicker than thinner than thicker. I'm at 400%. You should never draw bigger than 300%. So you know. You'll make really crazy decisions drawing this big. And no matter what you do, your line will appear pixelated this big. But if you're drawing something as specific as a stone, you can go this big. Just be aware that, you know, the pixelation and unevenness that you see in your line is because you're drawing at such a zoomed in scale. But on the other hand, if it looks good at this scale, it's going to look... I'm really confused because I keep drawing the stone and finding that I have made it too long. I don't think I have made it too long. I think that the layer is not gelled. See that? By shaping the bottom, it was going away. So it's important to have that layer gelled. At least until we get the shape set up. Once I'm here, I can go back to default if I would like. And I can actually turn the key off. I don't need it anymore. Okay. So, I'm going to draw the table. Roughly half the size, so roughly halfway in between. Make it a little smaller rather than a little bigger if you need to choose between the two. And this I can almost obliterate. I can make this so thin of a line that it almost goes away. Because it's just a hint for my faceting. Alright, facet lines, crosshair, just like crisscross, just like on a marquee, and a crisscross at the side, like a marquee. This crisscross happens closer to the bottom. Crisscross at the bottom. Okay? So, straight line this time. There to there. There to there. just a little bit. Pear shape's probably the most difficult stone to draw because it is asymmetrical from top to bottom. I want that line to come something like this, and I want there to be roughly an even scale difference between these two facets. Something more like that. Now, I could just call that good, or if I want to use that straight line tool, I can almost obliterate these and then straight line them again. Excellent example of why you might not want to use the straight line tool, because to try and get that exact angle I keep having to rework it. So I'm just going to freehand draw this because I know what I want. Freehanding it. More directly than I can. With the straight line tool. That's good. My bezel facets. Finished. Pair 1. Make a copy of it, grab pair 1, pull it over. Turn back on my sketch. Gel it. Free transform it. Now this is interesting. Traditionally in Painter, you could hold down Control and activate the rotate by just hovering over a corner. It's allowing me to do that. Normally you would have to go here. I don't know why it's allowing me to do this, but I will not fight with it. I think it's an excellent idea. And commit transform. it's quite a bit smaller. Oh, I don't want mirroring on. It's a little longer, skinnier pair, which is okay. You need to familiarize yourself. I'd like to tell you that there are standards, and there are. Marquees are usually 2 to 1. Pairs are usually measurements like 7 by 5, 6 by 4, 10 by 8. And those are all roughly kind of a 3 by 4, a little narrower than tall, so not even 3 by 4, really like 4 by 6. Okay, but after you've been around these stones and you've worked with them, that proportion will stick in your head. And pairs can be shorter and stubbier, but they're rarely longer and narrower. They can be, though. Alright, so there's my new key. Bring it up here. Gel that. Retransform this. Look at that. It is allowing me to hold the control key down. That is so neat. It's allowing me to do that. And access rotate. I want to get those lines so they look like they're roughly 90 degrees. And commit transform. If I want to have that in red again, it's the same thing as I did before. Correct colors, red, boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the marquee. I'm going to scale it. I can scale both directions at once by dragging on the corner. If I want it to be a uniform scale, meaning it's consistent on both sides, proportionate, I hold shift and that'll keep it the same size and shape of stone, same proportion of stone. So since I like the proportion, I'll hold shift when I drag. Okay, that's good. Okay. But you can see how delicate those lines become. They're still okay. I don't feel like I really have to change them, but if I did, I would make sure my stone was centered up on the symmetry line. And then I would use my 1.6 brush selectively. I wouldn't feel the need to do all the lines over, just some of them, particularly the lines that are starting to wash out, like here at the point. Okay. That's enough, really. Just doing that much makes it feel more akin to this stone. Turn off my symmetry. Move my stone. my sketch. Free transform. Now, as long as it's in this mode, I can actually scale it, but I have to be careful. Once I commit transform, this box will go 90 degrees left and right along the same as the sheet of paper. As long as I'm in free transform mode, it's going to remember its orientation from the original, which is helpful. And it's commit transform. Okay. So there are my stones so far. Okay, now I have my rounds. Drawing around, really the fastest thing for me to do is to make a big fat brush, almost the size of the circle I want. And then going to white, slightly smaller brush, till I have my circle. Okay. Eyeball it. Double check it. Now I need to bring my brush down to a normal size. It's a little down, but not bad. But it's far to the left. So I'll move it to the right. A couple clicks. That's better. That's good. Alright, so I've got my key. New layer. And now, for a round stone, I'm going to go from mirrors, go from symmetry to kaleidoscope. And I'm going to set this to 8. It's important to make sure that I don't make it bigger if I can avoid it. Okay. Another line 50% in. And from this I will actually make my facets. turn that. I should undo that. I'm going to make a copy of this again, like I've been doing, and paste. And one of these I'm going to name round 1. Keep the other one for now. Bring back my sketch. Gel. Nice. Grab my key. Bring it over. Erase the old, do a new one. Same idea though. Fill it in until I get a size that I like. Smaller brush to clean it up. It really is an easy way to draw quite, good circles. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Put it in the center, and I can also check positioning with the kaleidoscope on. It's actually positioned well. That's fine. Actually, instead of making it transparent, I'll color it. Turn that off. Free transform. Hold the shift key because it's a round, so I want it to be proportionately scaled for sure. And I do need to make it gel. Probably a little small. Hold shift key down. That's better. Okay. I'm going to turn back on my radial symmetry. Kaleidoscope. I'm going to check and make sure I'm still centered. Pretty good. Alright. Here's the thing. If I use a 1.6 brush at this size, I'm still going to be okay because this is still a pretty good sized round. Okay? But let's say I wasn't. Let's say that this stone really couldn't handle this much detail. Okay? That's not uncommon. If that's the case, I can simplify it in my drawing to just stars. Okay, and that's actually legitimate. I don't need to do the rest of the faceting. I'll do it when I paint it, but for my drawing that could be fine. Or I could go so far as doing the bezels, but not doing the break lines on the upper girdle facets. think so. Key I can now throw away. Right click on it, hit delete. Pairs. Marquees. Okay, and you'll see that we have some overlapping, which we actually want. We like to have an overlap. We need it. We want all of our stones to overlap a little bit. Question is which ones and where. Alright? Points of stones require a special treatment with prongs. So the way this is running into that pair right there wouldn't be good. So I can move that pair up a little bit to give that point of that stone a little more room and let it fall underneath the edge of that round a bit. This round I can then tuck under both of these stones a little. Same thing with this marquee. It's going to need a point under here, a protective prong. I'm going to give it a little more room to allow that. And I want this pair to tuck up under these a little bit. Okay, that's good. Now, to finish off my drawing, I want to clean up the stones where they are overlapping. I'm going to grab that marquee. Bring it down and out just a little bit. Give it a little more room right there for the prong. And then I'm ready. These are all gel, so I can take my brush, put it on white, and then I can pick the layer. It's important to know which layer I'm on. In this case, marquee 2. And I can erase that right out from underneath. Okay? Now, maybe I don't want this to be under this round. Maybe I want it to be over it. So I'll take it out from under here, but I won't take it out from there yet. Okay, marquee 1. Tucked under the stone. Pair 1. Tucked under the center stone. Pair 2. Tucked under the center stone and tucked under the marquee. Round 1. Oh, sorry. Round 2. Round 1's the highest stone. It's not under anything. Under the marquee. Under the pair. Okay? And now that I've done that, I have my design. Take all of my stones and group them. Eventually I would drop them or collapse them. But for now, because I want to still be able to position and move it around, I'll just group it. Okay? I'm going to bring in my original ear template. there's been some scaling going on here. This is the actual size. I borrowed a student's, and there's a difference in scaling. All right, that's fine. I will scale mine up. Free transform. Hold Shift key. This is still smaller, but I actually like that scale with that earring, so I'll leave it there. Drop this down below, so when I turn this on, it floats nicely above it. And rather than move my earring design, I'll move my ear. I would like to put the post about right there. Okay, so I've got that in position. Now, if my ear drawing is too dark, tone it back with opacity. Where my ear drawing is under my stones, take a white brush and clean it. If a detail on the ear, like this portion of the earlobe, is making it too busy near my earring, I'll just take it out. Same thing true here on the earlobe. I'll let it actually fade that line out a little bit around that point so that the earring breaks it cleanly. And that would be it, guys. Okay? That would be a carefully drawn Winston earring using layers, transforms, and symmetry to draw the stone. Thanks for watching.